Caring Review print Speaking to the Blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QandReview.com. That is INFORMATION@CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 15th of August, from the news section. I wish I had told doctors about my hallucinations. Report by Kirsty Fairick. A mum revealed how she wished she had told doctors about her hallucinations before reaching a crisis point. Mae Weston struggled with postpartum psychosis after suffering from severe stress while pregnant during the pandemic. The condition is a severe but treatable form of mental illness which can include delusions, mania or depression. It can get worse very quickly and should always be treated as a medical emergency. However, the 31-year-old, who lives near Partick, refused help after hearing voices and seeing things out of fear she would be locked up for the rest of her life. This left her battling her mental health, which continued to decline until she was picked up by the police after being found speaking gibberish and begging to make her hallucinations end. Mae told the Glasgow Times, I never had serious mental health issues in my life, but while pregnant with my daughter, in the pandemic I felt very stressed and helpless. I started to hear voices and see things. It was like someone had hacked my brain, and I was terrified to confide in anyone about how bad things really were. I had 7 referrals for mental health services, but I refused every time because I was so scared that they would lock me up and throw away the key for the rest of my life. It got to a point where I reached crisis level, and the police had me sedated and sectioned in the intense psychiatric ward for 6 weeks. It meant eventually I got the help I needed, but if I had accepted it sooner, I wouldn't have had to go to hospital and it wouldn't have been so traumatic. Mae is now sharing her story to inspire others to reach out for support after making a full recovery. Since leaving the hospital, she has secured a bachelor's degree in applied bioscience and zoology, whilst launching her own business. She is also focusing on being a mum to her children, 3-year-old Tegan and 5-year-old Brodie. Mae said, there is such a huge stigma when it comes to mental health, so admitting I was really struggling was very difficult and felt like a risk. When I finally did get help, people weren't against me or taking opportunities away from me. It was the opposite. They really helped me be able to reach my goals. It makes me sad I waited so long because I also missed a lot of my daughter's newborn phase because I was so ill. I don't remember a lot of it. I want others to know that it is better to get help as soon as possible, but you can avoid getting so overwhelmed. You don't have to do it the hard way like me. My recovery has been a huge success, and I hope it can inspire others to know that they can get well too. Felicity Lambert, National Fundraising Coordinator for Action on Postpartum Psychosis, said, we are so grateful to fundraisers like Mae. Not only are they raising funds to help us increase our reach and impact, supporting families impacted by postpartum psychosis, and lobbying for better services, but they're also raising awareness of this devastating illness that affects around 1 to 2 in every 1,000 births. Postpartum psychosis is a serious mental illness and should always be considered a medical emergency, which is why awareness is so important. The sooner women are treated and have access to the right care and support, the better the chances of recovery. And we know from our community that so many women can, and do, completely recover. If you are struggling, you can contact Action on Postpartum Psychosis on 020 3322 9900 or email app@appnetwork.org. That's app@network.org. You can also see your GP about your mental health or call NHS 111 for out of hours service, or attend E&E to get urgent help. If you think there is imminent danger, call 999 and ask for an ambulance. And that report was written by Kirsty Feerick. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 15th of August, from the news section. Mum honoured for 15 years of volunteering. Report by Lauren Brownlee. An ambulance worker who has also spent the last 15 years volunteering has been honoured for her dedication. Lynn Duke started with St Andrews First Aid, which supplies first aid equipment at an event cover, back in 2009 after seeing an advert in a local newspaper. The ambulance care assistant, who works out of Leverndale Station in Crookston, was recently presented with a long service medal and certificate at a civic reception at Edinburgh City Chambers. Lynn proudly attended with her daughter Sarah. It was really nice to be recognised for the volunteering that I do, said Lynn from East Kilbride. After making the decision to join, I've never looked back as I really enjoy it. Not only does St Andrews give me the confidence to try new things, but I've also met friends that I can now call friends for life. In the past 15 years, Lynn has volunteered at 6 Tea in the Park festivals, numerous concerts, football matches, Remembrance Day parades and local duties including performances in East Kilbride Village Theatre. Her enjoyment of volunteering inspired her to change careers and she's joined the Scottish Ambulance Service in 2016, caring for members of the public when transporting them to and from hospital. Lynn said, I started working part-time based at Paisley Station before moving to Glasgow South Station. I now work full-time at Leverndale Station. I like that every day is different, meeting different people and the challenges that it brings. Paul Benny, Ambulance Care Assistant Team Leader at Leverndale, said, on behalf of everyone at the Scottish Ambulance Service, I would like to congratulate Lynn on a fantastic achievement. She is a fantastic member of staff and an inspiring volunteer for St Andrews. This award is thoroughly deserved and everyone at Leverndale is thrilled she has been recognised. And that report was by Lauren Brownlee. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 15th of August, from the news section. Rapist jailed for causing incalculable damage to his victim. Report by Dave Finlay. An asylum seeker was jailed for 7 years yesterday after inflicting incalculable damage on a woman he subjected to a rape attack. Wally Nasir, 24, sexually assaulted the victim at a flat in the south side of Glasgow after taking off her underwear. The Syrian national, who fled his homeland to escape conscription into the military, attacked and raped the woman when she fell asleep and was incapable of consenting. Nasir denied raping the woman at an earlier trial, but was convicted of committing the attack on July 17, 2022, after taking her to the flat. He committed the offence after being freed on bail at Glasgow Sheriff Court a year earlier. The High Court in Edinburgh heard that he continues to maintain his innocence of the sex crime. A judge told him, "You have been convicted of a very serious offence. You took advantage of a vulnerable woman." Judge Thomas Wells KC told sex attacker he had shown no remorse following the rape. He said, "The damage that you did is incalculable." The victim impact statement shows how deep and lasting the effects your conduct will be. The judge said, "You are assessed as a high risk of further sexual offending. A custodial sentence is inevitable." Defence solicitor advocate Gary Milner said that Nasir's father died after being shot in his vehicle in conflict-stricken Syria. He said, his mother raised the money to send him to the UK to prevent forced conscription into the army. He said Nasir had used his time in Glasgow fairly productively and was supported by the youth asylum team over accommodation. He is engaged at the services of an immigration solicitor. He understands how serious this is and always has. The thought of a lengthy prison sentence being imposed terrifies him, he said. Nasir, who has been held in prison since last year, was told he will be placed on the sex offenders register indefinitely following sentencing. And that report was by Dave Finlay. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 15th of August, from the news section. World-class crime-fighting hub marks 10th anniversary. Report by Anne Fotheringham. A world-class crime-fighting hub, which has helped bring cold case killers to justice and dismantled organised crime, is marking its 10th anniversary. The £73 million Scottish Crime Campus at Gartcosh, near Glasgow, brings together more than 20 agencies under one roof. Recent successes include Operation Escalade, an international and multi-agency operation which saw several men convicted of serious organised crime and drug offences. It also resulted in the conviction of Christopher Hughes, a major figure in Scotland's serious organised crime network, for the murder of Martin Koch in the Netherlands. Hughes was sentenced to life in jail for the crime. Operation Venetic, which culminated in the takedown of an encrypted communication service used exclusively by criminals, is regarded as one of the UK's most significant operations to disrupt serious organised crime. It resulted in millions of pounds worth of drugs, including cocaine, heroin, cannabis, and etizolan tablets, being recovered, and has seen hundreds of people arrested and jailed for serious organised crime offences. Justice Secretary and Chair of the Serious Organised Crime Task Force, Angela Constance, marked the anniversary at a special event yesterday as Glasgow prepares to host the Interpol General Assembly in November. She said, "The Scottish Crime Campus has led to a major change in how organisations shift information and develop opportunities to detect and disrupt criminality. I want to thank all the agencies that work effectively together through the campus to strengthen the fight against international criminals and congratulate them on their successes over the last decade." Kenny Donnelly, Deputy Crown Agent for Specialist Casework at the Crown Office and Prosecutor Fiscal Service, COPFS, said, "The overarching aim of everyone operating out of the Scottish Crime Campus is to systematically disrupt and dismantle those gangs who profit from serious organised crime by bringing them to justice through the Scottish courts." He added, "During the first decade of the campus, the COPFS was upheld, and will continue to uphold, its unflinching commitment to using all available legal tools to achieve this aim: prosecuting perpetrators, seeking appropriate orders to protect the public, and taking action to seize and confiscate the proceeds of crime. We will do this by maintaining the same unyielding approach to tackling serious organised crime through multi-agency collaboration." Police Scotland's Chief Constable Joe Farrell said, "The Scottish Crime Campus is a world-class hub for the joined-up working needed to smash serious crime organisations and protect the public." Built on the site of the former steelworks in North Lanarkshire and modelled on the curved shape of a DNA particle, the Scottish Crime Campus was opened in June 2014 by Princess Anne. Around 1,100 people work on the site. And the article was written by Anne Fotheringham.
From Glasgow Times, 16th of August 2024. From Scottish News, busy Glasgow street taped off by police due to incident. This article was written by Ben Waddle. Police have taped off part of a busy street in Glasgow due to an incident. Officers have sealed off part of Springfield Road at its junction with Gallowgate in the city's Parkhead area currently, 9:50 am on Friday, August 16th. In an image captured by Glasgow Times, 2 officers can be seen standing on guard at the scene. Meanwhile, 2 police units can be seen parked on the street. It is understood they have taped off an entrance to a flat on the road. Currently, it is unclear what the incident is. However, we have contacted Police Scotland for comment. This article was written by Ben Waddle. From Glasgow Times, 16th of August 2024. From Scottish News, car failed to stop after hitting teenage boy on his bike. And this article was written by Ben Waddle. Cops are hunting a driver who failed to stop after hitting a teenage boy who was on his bike. Police say they were called to a crash involving a car and a youth on a bicycle on George Street, Chapel Hall, North Lanarkshire, on Wednesday, August 14th. Officers were alerted to the incident shortly after 9 p.m. 999 crews raced to the scene. After that, the cyclist, a 13-year-old boy, was rushed to the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow for treatment. Meanwhile, the force has revealed that the motor failed to stop after the collision. An investigation is underway after the incident. A spokesperson for Police Scotland said, around 9:15 p.m. on Wednesday, August 14th, 2024, officers were called to a collision involving a car and a youth on a bicycle on George Street, Chapel Hall. The car failed to stop. The cyclist, a 13-year-old male youth, was taken to the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow for treatment. Inquiries are ongoing to establish the full circumstances. And that article was written by Ben Waddle. From Glasgow Times, 16th of August 2024. From Scottish News, criminal who pointed gun at cop given lenient sentence, court hears. This article was written by James Mulholland. A judge imposed an unduly lenient sentence on a career criminal who pointed what appeared to be a gun at a terrified police officer, a court has heard. Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain KC told appeal judges on Wednesday this week how David Docherty, 35, shouldn't have received a 40-month term for his crime. He was given the sentence following proceedings at the High Court in Glasgow earlier this year. Judge Alasdair McFadden heard how Docherty pointed a weapon at PC Tom Marshall on April 24, 2021 in Glasgow's Finnieston area. The court heard how Docherty was sitting in the passenger seat of a Citroën car when he committed the offence. The motor later sped away from the scene. Judge McFadden also heard how just a few months earlier, Docherty blasted the living room window of a house in the city's Cardonald area with a shotgun. Docherty was found guilty of having a firearm or imitation gun with intent to cause PC Marshall to believe violence would be used against him. Docherty was guilty of culpably and recklessly discharging the 12-bore shotgun as well as possessing the weapon in connection with the Cardonald incident. He was finally convicted of attempting to pervert the course of justice. Docherty was already serving a 4-year sentence imposed last October for torching cars of prison officers at HMP Kilmarnock at the time of his last High Court appearance. It was also revealed at the end of proceedings that he had 22 previous convictions. On Wednesday, Ms. Bain, the leader of Scotland's prosecution service, told the court that Judge McFadden hadn't properly considered Docherty's previous convictions. She also said that Judge McFadden hadn't also properly considered the nature of the crimes to which he had been found guilty of during that trial. She added, "It has resulted in the imposition of an unduly lenient sentence. A more severe sentence is necessary for the protection of the public, given the nature of the sentence to which the accused was convicted of." At the end of his trial, Judge McFadden told Docherty, "This case represented appalling behaviour in and around Glasgow. This involved an actual shotgun, an apparent weapon of some sort, and an attempt to destroy evidence to interfere with the course of inquiries into serious crime. The sentence will begin at the end of the 4-year jail term." The trial heard how police had pulled in the Citroën in Glasgow's Lansfield Quay due to a potential insurance issue. In his speech to jurors, prosecutor Alex Prentice KC said PC Marshall got out and went to the vehicle. Mr. Prentice described how the passenger in the car leaned over and pointed the weapon at the constable, who immediately dropped to his knees. The Citroën then raced off at excessive speeds, even in the face of oncoming traffic. Jurors heard how PC Marshall was left in an upset state by what happened. The vehicle, which was found to have false number plates, was later discovered to have been torched in Mulgai, East Dunbartonshire. Mr. Prentice put to jurors, "Why would anyone set fire to a car?" to remove any possible link to criminality. Docherty was linked to the car due to fingerprints and having been earlier captured on petrol station CCTV, filling up such a vehicle. The shooting at the house in Cardonald occurred on July 28, 2020. Luckily, no one was in the house at the time. Jurors were told a red Ford Fiesta had been involved. Docherty was found days later at a house in Darnley, East Renfrewshire. There was a Ford Fiesta outside, and he had a key which unlocked it. The gunman in the attack was also said to have had a supermarket carrier bag. Such an item was also found in this motor. After the verdict, Mr. Prentice revealed Docherty had 22 previous convictions for violence, drugs, robbery, and reckless conduct. On Wednesday, shaven-headed Docherty observed proceedings via video link from prison. He was wearing a Scottish Prison Service t-shirt. Judge Lady Dorian, Scotland's second most senior judge, said she and her colleagues, Lady Wise and Lord Armstrong, would issue their decision in writing sometime in the near future. She added, "We thank parties for their submissions." And that article was written by James Mulholland. From Glasgow Times, 16th of August 2024. From the news section, iconic Glasgow city centre nightclub wins top award. This article was written by Ben Waddle. An iconic Glasgow city centre nightclub has won a top award. The garage, which is located on Suckyhall Street, took to social media to announce it scooped an accolade at On Trade Scotland's On Trade Awards 2024 on Monday, August 12th. In the post, the venue revealed they won the Best Live Music/Gig Venue of the Year award at the ceremony. On top of that, the club's owner, Donald Cameron MacLeod, was presented with the Industry Champion Prize. Announcing the big win, the garage said, "Huge thank you to On Trade Scotland for presenting the garage with Best Live Music/Gig Venue of the Year and honour our owner Donald MacLeod with Industry Champion. What a great night." The popular city centre nightclub first opened in 1994. During its time, as well as being a club, it has welcomed several music legends, including Prince, Biffy Clyro, and One Direction. It comes after we reported a loved Glasgow restaurant scooped 2 awards at the event as well. Buck's Bar took to social media to reveal they were double award winners at On Trade Scotland's On Trade Awards 2024 on Monday, August 12th. In the post, the heavily popular eatery in the city, which is the sister restaurant to Thundercat Pub and Diner on Miller Street, said they won the Social Media Engagement Award and the Casual Dining Venue of the Year accolade at the event. And this article was written by Ben Waddle. From Glasgow Times, Friday the 16th of August, 2024. From Scottish News, nurse who assaulted ex-cop at Glasgow Jersey Boys show sentenced. This article was written by Connor Gordon. A woman who assaulted a retired police officer at a Jersey Boys theatre show was fined £320. Lorna Carmichael, 43, initially pounced on Alastair Malcolm, 59, at Glasgow's King's Theatre on April 19, 2022. The nurse punched and scratched Alastair near the lobby as both exited with their families. Her sister care home worker Anne Gillespie, 52, meantime grabbed Catherine Malcolm, 52, on the body, which caused her to almost fall downstairs. Sheriff David Taylor found Carmichael of Germiston guilty of assaulting Alastair, while Gillespie of Gartamlock was convicted of attacking Catherine. The sheriff ordered Carmichael this week to pay Alastair a further £200 in compensation on top of the fine. He said, "This was a nasty assault indeed. That's what I took from it. I should only impose custody if I'm satisfied that it is appropriate, which is clearly not the case. You have no previous convictions and a positive background report. In all the circumstances, it is appropriate to deal with this with a financial penalty." Gillespie was fined £210 for her part after the trial. The court heard matters arose after Alastair complained to the sisters about them making noise and their theatre etiquette. The witness told Glasgow Sheriff Court that one of the siblings said to him that they were enjoying themselves, to which he replied, "You are just drunk." Alastair complained that the woman then lunged at him, which caused him to fall on the stairs. The witness stated that the woman's body was on top of his legs, which pinned him down. He said, "I just wanted to try and back away rather than push her away. At that point, she still had a hold of me, and I could feel a few blows and scratching to my head. I could feel she was trying to get her nails in my eye socket. I spent my time holding her hand away." Prosecutor Gail Campbell asked the witness how he felt at the time. He replied, "Shocked that something like that happened at the theatre on a Tuesday night, or at all. I was quite shocked. Perhaps with my previous employment I could deal with it better than some." Alastair stated that the incident was split up by members of staff and the police also attended. Catherine meantime claimed that Gillespie signalled at her, "Come on," from the bottom of the stairs at the exit. The witness stated that she grabbed a railing and sat down as she was aware she was on a set of stairs when Gillespie came towards her. She said, "It was almost as if she was pulling me. She pulled my t-shirt, she pulled my necklace. I had fingernail marks to the top of my chest and I had a bit of blood on my mouth." Catherine told the court that the incident lasted seconds. Miss Campbell asked Catherine how she felt about the incident. She replied, "Horrible. I think I have been to the theatre once since then. I am too afraid to go back." Carmichael and Gillespie's mother told the court in her evidence that the trio were out for her birthday. Margaret Carmichael, 72, claimed that Alastair had called the trio SL**S, which he had earlier denied. The pensioner went on to state that Alastair was the aggressor who went for Carmichael, who she stood in front of. She said, "I was maybe 2 or 3 stairs up. He pushed me, and I fell down the stairs." The witness claimed she suffered an arm injury and received injections to heal the pain. And that article was written by Connor Gordon. From Glasgow Times, 16th of August 2024. From Scottish News, Property developers in bid to create 300 new homes in Glasgow. This article was written by Ben Waddle. Two property developers are hoping to create hundreds of new homes in Glasgow. Taylor Wimpey West Scotland and Caledonian Properties have submitted a joint application for an approval of matters specified in conditions to Glasgow City Council for creation of 300 new homes located off Rob Royston Road in Rob Royston. The developers say planning permission in principle has already been secured for the development, which sets out comprehensive proposals for the housing mix, landscaping and building materials. The new development, named Lumloch View, will include a choice of 2, 3, 4 and 5 bedroom homes. It will also provide generous public open space, connected networks that include pedestrian and cycle links, pocket parks and an equipped play area for the new and existing community. Taylor Wimpey says plans also include providing a new community space in the area. Additionally, and through engagement with the Community Council and other local stakeholders, approximately 5 acres of land at Briarcroft will be transferred from Taylor Wimpey to the community. This will help facilitate a range of new community uses, including a garden, exercise area and memorial. Meanwhile, the developers have also agreed to provide safe crossing points over Rob Royston Road, which will connect to the existing and improved footpath network. They say this will allow the community to safely access schools, public transport, local services and facilities by walking and cycling rather than by private car. In a bid to create the new homes, Martin Finlay, Technical Director for Taylor Wimpey West Scotland said, "Along with our development partners Caledonian Properties Limited, since our planning permission in principle was granted, we have been working towards refining our final proposals for the development. As a result, we firmly believe that our proposed Lumloch View development will integrate well with the established community. We aim to provide new open space, green networks and landscaping, which, together with the community proposals for land at Briarcroft, will present an opportunity to improve health and well-being in the area. Furthermore, in addition to an impressive range of new homes, our proposed development will also provide a range of economic benefits for the local Rob Royston area. This includes supporting new jobs for every year of construction and attracting new customers to local businesses from those who choose to live in one of the new homes this development aims to deliver." And that article was written by Ben Waddle.
From Glasgow Times, Friday, 16th of August, Lifestyle section, ex-River City stars legendary 80s girl band back for one-off gig by Anne Fotheringham. Trailblazing Glasgow girl band Sophisticated Boom Boom will reunite for a special one-off gig this October. The 80s pop pioneers, who include ex-River City star Libby MacArthur, are appearing at Mono in Glasgow on October the 18th to mark the cinema release of Since Yesterday, the untold story of Scotland's girl bands. The documentary features the female pop stars and post-punks who challenged a male-dominated industry, acknowledging their rightful place in music history and examining the enduring barriers faced by women making music. Written and narrated by singer-songwriter Carla J. Easton, solo artist and member of Teen Canteen, and co-directed by music promo director Blair Young, collaborator with Belle and Sebastian, Biffy Clyro, Teenage Fan Club and many more, Since Yesterday unearths the rich history of Scottish girl bands from the 1960s onwards. The film includes personal anecdotes from a host of bands, including Jeanette Gallagher from the McKinleys, the first Scottish girl band to break into the charts in 1964 and the first girl band to ever play Wembley Arena, the Etties, Strawberry Switchblade, the Headrons, Sophisticated Boom Boom, Sunset Gun, His Latest Flame, the Twin Sets, Lum Leg, and Hello Skinny. It also features unheard demos, lost archives, and rare performances that celebrate the women who never compromised and subsequently got lost in time. Following its world premiere at Edinburgh International Film Festival on August the 21st, which sold out in under 30 minutes, Since Yesterday will kick off its general cinema release with a special screening at Glasgow Film Theatre on October the 18th. Ticket holders
will also gain access to a live after-screening gig at Mono, where sophisticated Boom Boom, Libby MacArthur, Trisha Reid, Irene Brown, Jacqueline Bradley and Laura Mazzolini will reform for one night only. Also in the bill will be Louise Rutkowski, Sunset Gun, This Mortal Coil, and Jeanette Gallagher, the McKinleys, and Scottish female and non-binary songwriting collective Hen House, performing songs from the film. Carla said, "Since I first suggested to Blair the idea of a documentary about the history of women who had formed bands in Scotland way back in 2016, we have been excited about letting an audience hear all the great music we knew about already, and then all the music we subsequently discovered. But more than that, it became about letting people hear the experiences of the women who made the music tell their stories, something they had never really gotten the opportunity to do before." Blair said, "I'm excited for people to hear this music and meet these amazing characters, both in the film and through the live events happening in conjunction with the screenings and beyond, and I hope it can go some way to help change things for the bands of the future." Tickets for the special screening and live gig at GFT and Mono on October the 18th go on sale at 12:10 p.m. today, August the 16th, on the GFT website and at the box office. That article was by Anne Fotheringham. From Glasgow Times, Friday, 16th of August, Lifestyle section, Glasgow's Bucks Bar Double Award Winners at Big Event, by Ben Waddle. A loved Glasgow restaurant has scooped 2 awards at a big event. Bucks Bar took to social media to reveal they were double award winners at On Trade Scotland's On Trade Awards 2024 on Monday, August the 12th. In the post, the heavily popular eatery in the city, which is the sisters restaurant to Thundercat Pub and Diner on Miller Street, said they won the Social Media Engagement Award and the Casual Dining Venue of the Year accolade at the event. In the post they said, "We were double award winners last night at the On Trade Scotland Awards. Thank you for presenting us with the Social Media Engagement Award and the Casual Dining Venue of the Year 2 years in a row. What a great night celebrating hospitality in Scotland." Bucks Bar currently has 3 venues in Glasgow. One is located on West Regent Street, while another is in the city's Tongate, and the third one is located on Cathcart Road in the south side. The restaurant also has 2 other locations in Scotland's capital city, Edinburgh. That article was written by Ben Waddle. From Glasgow Times, Friday, 16th of August, Lifestyle section, Legendary punk band announced Glasgow show on tour, by Kirsty Feerick. A legendary punk band has announced a Glasgow show on their tour. The Undertones will perform at the O2 Academy on Saturday, September the 28th this year. The nostalgic icons are marking their 45th anniversary of Teenage Kicks with a series of shows in the UK in September and October. Fans will be treated to special guests appearing at points on the tour, including the Resolus, Neville Staple and the Tom Robinson Band. Tickets for the Glasgow performance are available now at £34.60, with the Ruts DC joining them at 7 p.m. in the city centre venue. The Undertones emerged from Derry in 1976 as the result of 5 friends, John O'Neill, Damien O'Neill, Fergal Sharkey, Billy Docherty and Michael Bradley learning how to play rock and roll. Practicing in their bedrooms eventually led to the band recording John O'Neill's Teenage Kicks in 1978 on Terry Howley's Good Vibrations label in Belfast. The legendary DJ John Peel received a copy and liked it so much he played it twice in a row on his radio show. The Undertones signed with Sire Records and Teenage Kicks was re-released, resulting in the band's first appearance on Top of the Pops. Over the next 5 years, John O'Neill crafted further pop gems such as Here Comes the Summer, Jimmy Jimmy, You've Got My Number, Why Don't You Use It, and Wednesday Week. Meanwhile, Damien O'Neill and Michael Bradley contributed My Perfect Cousin. That article was by Kirsty Feerick. From Glasgow Times, Friday, 16th of August, Lifestyle section. Scottish Theatre cancels Reginald D. Hunter show after Israel joke, by Gregor Young. A theatre has cancelled a show by US comedian Reginald D. Hunter following an accusation that jokes he made at a fringe show were anti-Semitic. The Eastwood Theatre in Giffnock, East Renfrewshire, announced the decision a day after the comic apologised for what he said was an unfortunate incident during his show. It was reported that 2 Israeli audience members at Hunter's Fluffy Beavers show took issue with the comedian joking that an abusive wife complaining about being abused herself was like being married to Israel. The theatre is run by East Renfrewshire Culture, which has issued a statement to say the September show has been cancelled due to controversial comments. A spokesman for East Renfrewshire Culture and Leisure said, "We defend the freedom of expression of artists and understand that our audiences expect to extend some latitude to many acts, including alternative comedy, which may be controversial in places. However, we have a commitment to our community and to our values of diversity and inclusion, which we take seriously." The spokesperson also confirmed all customers will receive a refund. Hunter previously took to social media following the incident at the Assembly's George Square Studios venue. He said he regretted any stress caused, but said that, "As a comedian, I do push boundaries in creating humour. It's part of my job." Hunter went on to repeat the joke and made further reference to the Jewish Chronicle newspaper being behind a paywall, saying it was typical Jews. The comments were met with criticism from the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, who said they were extremely concerning and that comedians should have a responsibility to their audience. According to BBC journalist James Shane, who attended the show on Thursday evening, Hunter made a number of jokes which people could have taken offence to, including jokes about Rolf Harris and Jimmy Savile. The journalist said, "One audience member shouted out, 'I'm Jewish and I loved the joke,' when he told it." That article was by Gregor Young. From Glasgow Times, Friday, 16th of August, Lifestyle section. US TV star to perform greatest hits in Glasgow's Oranmore, by Sandhya Suresh. An actress and singer-songwriter known for her role in the popular Ally McBeal series is set to perform in Glasgow as part of her UK and Ireland tour. Vonda Shepherd will be playing at Oranmore on October the 8th. She will be touring with a full band and performing songs from her 13 albums, including her latest album, Red Light, Green Light. Tickets for her Glasgow show are available at vondashepherd.com/live. She said, "I play songs at the piano and get completely lost in them, then fuse with the band to get the sparks flying. By the end of the show, I love to belt out the soul tunes and whip the audience up into a frenzy. I always have so much fun performing for my fans in the UK and Ireland. It was a joy to reconnect with my fans there on my last tour, and I can't wait to come back and see everyone again this autumn." Her latest album is produced by her husband, Mitchell Froome. Vonda said, "The album was written and recorded during the height of the pandemic. It took a massive amount of discipline to go through this process, but the isolation actually lent itself to going deep into the writing." Vonda shot to fame in the late 1990s with her performances on the popular US TV show Ally McBeal. She was cast in the show as the resident performer in the bar where the characters would hang out at the end of each episode. She had a worldwide hit in 1998 with the show's theme tune, Searching My Soul, and produced over 500 songs for the series. She has sold more than 12 million albums and won 2 Golden Globes, 2 Emmys, and 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards. To this day, she holds the Billboard record for selling the most television soundtracks in history. That article was by Sandhya Suresh.
From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 17th of August, from the news section. Man-made HIV threat over ban, report by Esder Tarnai. A man shouted at a cafe worker, "I am going to stick a pin in you and give you HIV," after being banned. Jonathan Black entered Cafe Nero on Argyll Street shortly after 4 p.m. and left without incident. After going out the door, employees continued to watch him as he was known to them. They exited the store to see if he left the area. Black noticed and began shouting and threatening the workers, who told him he was barred from the store and he should not come back in. The 41-year-old replied, "That's fine, but I am going to do yous in, and I'm going to do you first. Then, going through you, I'm going to burst you, I'm going to stick a pin in you and give you HIV." He said this while he was grabbing his crotch. He then called one employee a fat C*****T. One store assistant told him police would be called, and he responded, "You're nothing but a grass." He left and the police traced him. The Dalmarnock resident appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court this week after he pleaded guilty to a breach of the peace. He also admitted stealing from Boots and Anime Gallery, both in its shopping centre, on 2 separate occasions in August and April 2023. His lawyer told the court, "These prior convictions speak for themselves. A lot of nuisance offences. All of that was related to illicit drugs or alcohol." He was released under the early release programme in July. He has been clean of illicit drug use and he remains so to this day. He needs a support mechanism in place to try and keep him not offending. There are a number of different elements available to the court. At this stage of liberation, there are so many temptations. Sheriff Colette Gallagher told Black, "I understand you remained free of using drugs. That is something to be commended. That is why today I am willing to deal with matters in the community." A structural deferred sentence was imposed for 6 months and for Black to be of good behaviour. And that report was written by Esder Tarnai. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 17th of August, from the news section. Residents slam unreliable lift. Tenants tell of anger over equipment which they say is not up to scratch. Report is an exclusive by Aidan MacDonald. Residents of an assisted living facility have expressed their anger at the lift in the complex not being up to scratch. Bridge Court, which is owned by the charity Build Housing and Care, is home to over 40 people. The Glasgow Times has spoken to several tenants who live within the Alexandria complex, who claim the lift has been unreliable over the last 3 years, with the problem getting considerably worse in the last 12 months. As a result of the lift breaking down over the last few years, several residents claim not to have opted not to use it when it is in service. One of those who falls into this bracket is Sid Huckster. The 19-year-old, who has 2 walking sticks, has opted to use the stairs for fear of getting stuck in the lift. His daughter Helen Kennedy explained the issues that this is causing. "My dad has not been going out as much as he is concerned about the lift," she said. "It has been fixed and then broken so many times over the last few years that he will avoid it if possible. He was previously stuck in the lift, which caused a lot of upset. It has been supposedly fixed on a number of occasions before breaking again, which is unhelpful for those who need it most. I am constantly worried about him when I am not there." Another tenant, Betty Forsyth, opened up in the stress of not knowing if the service will work properly. "I was stuck in the lift 2 years ago along with my daughter, who has mental health issues, and this caused a lot of discomfort for both of us," the 89-year-old said. "The worry of this happening every time I want to leave the building or move to another floor is something I could really be doing without. I am lucky in the sense that I have family members who can come and visit and help me up and down the stairs if need be, and can bring shopping if needed, but not everyone is as lucky." One family member of a tenant has expressed concerns about the mental health impact of people being potentially isolated. Richard Lees, whose mum Rena is 92, has detailed his worry about her becoming socially isolated. He said, My mum is on the ground floor of Bridgecourt and lives on her own. She has bad knees and her mobility is limited. She went into the accommodation for the social aspect, as it is an upstairs lounge which should allow for her to meet with people on a regular basis. It has really limited her experience in recent times. The laundry in Bridgecourt is in the basement, which is a lot of residents cannot gain access to when the lift is out of service. The lift is now working again and a stair lift has been put in, but residents have been told that they cannot use it, which is bizarre. Ruby Peaceful, 78, was also critical of Beald's communications. She added, "I feel like we could have been informed of the status of the lift a lot more regularly. We all have our own health problems, and the issue with the lift is causing added stress. The lack of communication has been poor and things are not up to scratch." Drew Moore, Director of Assets at Beald, said, "The safety and well-being of our tenants is our utmost priority. We are aware of the recent ongoing issues with the lift at Bridgecourt and Alexandria, and we sincerely apologise for the inconvenience and distress this has caused our tenants. We understand that a reliable lift service is essential, especially for those with mobility challenges. We would like to reassure all tenants and their families that we have been working diligently to resolve these issues, which has included replacing the lift's control unit. We are pleased to confirm that as of August the 7th, the lift is fully operational. That said, it will require further works to ensure long-term reliability in the coming 8 to 12 weeks. We understand that some residents may still have concerns about using the lift, and so we will be carrying out extensive work to replace both the hydraulic mechanisms and control systems to increase future reliability. With this in mind, we have installed a stair lift to assist tenants who may have difficulty using the stairs and serve as a backup to the lift. Our development manager has been actively supporting tenants during this time and will continue to discuss the support required with our tenants. We are committed to ensuring that Bridgecourt remains a comfortable place for all who call it home, and we appreciate the patience and understanding of our tenants and their families as we work through these necessary repairs." And that report was an exclusive by Aidan MacDonald.
Evening Times, August 21. Thomas Kerr says Glaswegians need centre-right alternative to choose from. Since I was first elected in 2017, I have had to deal with more than my fair share of sanctimonious opinions from left-wing politicians who always think they know best. The grievance-mongering and the constant blame games have never ceased to amaze me. You would have been forgiven then for believing that when the Conservatives lost power just over a month ago, that change had arrived and politics would be done differently. Yet last week's announcement by SNP Finance Secretary Shona Robison on the state of the nation's finances featured the same old tired rhetoric we have become accustomed to from her party. We may have a new UK government, but the SNP have not switched off their grievance machine just yet. Despite sitting on a record block grant from the previous Conservative government, Robison's announcement threatens to usher in SNP austerity on stilts. Hard-pressed Glaswegians are set to see their winter fuel allowance payments disappear, jobs in our public services cut to the bone, and being hit with even higher taxes. All of this against a backdrop of pay rises to keep unions happy and avoid the embarrassment of more bad headlines as rubbish piles up on the streets. The reality is Scotland's economy is broken, and the SNP only have themselves to blame. Their financial mismanagement during their 17 years in office has delivered a £1.5 billion black hole in our finances, and they have no idea how to fix it. Now Scotland is faced with two parties who are obsessed with growing the public sector while failing to recognise the need to equally invest and grow our private sector. Their failure to engage businesses constantly puts off investors, and it is right here in Glasgow that we are paying the price for that attitude. That is why I believe the leadership contests currently taking place both in Scotland and the UK in my party are so crucial for the future of conservatism across the country. Glaswegians and the whole of the UK needs a modern centre-right alternative to choose from. We have reached a point where we must have a frank conversation about how we are being governed and the policy decisions that are harming working people. Robison is slashing our public sector and making pensioners fret over winter, yet refuses to accept responsibility for the black hole her party has created. From the $500 million wasted on ferries that still have not entered service, to failed investments at BIFAB, the botched deposit return scheme, or the tens of millions blown on the Rangers' prosecution, their mismanagement is all over it. And the only answer has been to put up taxes, and not on those who really can afford it, but for anyone earning over £28,000. The SNP's priorities are all wrong, and it is time that they were honest about the reality of their decisions and what it means for the public purse. SNP ministers regularly try and boast about how things are done differently here, but the reality is many of the policies they talk up, such as free prescriptions, free tuition, and council tax freezes, are not free. We all pay for them, yet while we pay more in SNP-run Scotland, we are not getting better public services. I know my opponents will already be screaming reading this and thinking, he's a typical Tory. He wants us to pay for stuff. But I don't. My mission is to equalise opportunity for everyone in Scotland, no matter your postcode. But right now these policies are benefiting better off families, to the detriment of many of our most deprived areas, including people I represent in Shettleston. When an NHS appointment is cancelled, or a knee operation scrapped, those in other parts of Glasgow might be able to afford going private, but communities like mine do not have that availability. When universities change entry criteria to make it harder to get in due to a limited number of placements, kids from other areas of the city may be able to meet it due to private tuition, but communities like mine are left behind. It is time to have a grown-up conversation about how we handle our finances here in Scotland, and for everyone to take responsibility for making sure the public do not foot the bill for their mismanagement. And that includes my party. Sometimes we might need to take decisions that are not politically convenient, but ultimately will prove to be right ones. Whoever wins the leadership contests has a mountain to climb as we rebuild trust in our party. It's time to get back to our values and offer common sense policies for modern Scotland, says Thomas Kerr, Scottish Conservative. Evening Times, August 21. Opinion. Ian McConnell says, Scottish Government has made Scotland unattractive. Really? There are those who at times seem determined at every opportunity to present Scotland as an unattractive place in which to invest, and some of them even appear to delight in so doing. They are a noisy bunch, producing a cacophony and attracting attention disproportionate to their numbers. Their narrative is a familiar one. It is all the Scottish Government's fault, and the SNP has put people off investing in Scotland. This carping is often heard in the context of property investment, and it frequently seems to come from a desire to ensure unfettered returns, for example in the build-to-rent market, or is triggered by a certain political viewpoint, or both. And the noise is so persistent and so loud that people unfamiliar with the details could be forgiven for taking it as gospel. Thankfully, there are enough hard facts and figures to enable people to form their own view of the state of the property market in Scotland, if they can concentrate amid the near-deafening volume from the lobbyists and the politically motivated. Much of this volume has been around build-to-rent activity, although the narrative is applied more generally to the Scottish property sector and to investment in the nation more generally. Of course, a look, for example, at the rental market from tenants' point of view, in terms of cost and other onerous factors, should also leave people in no doubt that there is another side to the story. That is not to say that the potential for rent controls in Scotland will not have an impact on some investors' decisions. Rather, it is to point out that the overall picture on the ground does not bear out the picture of catastrophe on this front painted by the lobbyists, and societal factors should be taken into account in the housing market. It cannot be all about unfettered returns for investors. Research last week from global property advisor JLL certainly raised a question mark or two over the narrative that Scotland is somehow a dire place to invest. This revealed that Scotland's real estate sector overall bucked the trend of decline elsewhere in the UK in the first half of 2024 in terms of attracting investment. This may come as a surprise to some, given the ambient noise. What is more, JLL highlighted a positive outlook in Scotland for investment in this sector, taking in commercial and industrial property and residential development during the rest of this year and into 2025. It is worth observing briefly that the narrative from some seemingly keen on talking Scotland down falls apart pretty quickly when it comes to foreign direct investment, FDI. The dire warnings about the nation being an unattractive place to invest do not chime with the reality of a consistently very strong performance on this front. Scotland won a record number of foreign direct investment projects, FDI projects, in 2023, according to EY's annual Scotland Attractiveness Survey published last month. And the nation last year retained its position as second only to London among UK locations in attracting new inward investment projects. Scotland won 142 FDI projects last year, a 12.7% rise from the previous record annual figure of 126 achieved in 2022. This was the fifth straight year of increase, and EY noted Scotland was the only part of the UK to achieve this. The increase in the number of inward investment projects won by Scotland in 2023 was more than twice as sharp as the 6% rise seen across the UK as a whole. That is surely all good news. Returning to JLL's research published last week, this revealed that investment in Scotland's real estate sector increased considerably in the first 6 months of the year, in contrast to a sharp drop across the rest of the UK. The Scottish property market attracted £770 million of investment in the opening 6 months of 2024, a 4% increase on the average for the first halves of the previous 10 years, and 30% higher than the corresponding period of 2023. That certainly seems like a solid enough performance in itself, and obviously it looks even more impressive in the context of the decline seen in the UK as a whole. It is a reality that sits most incongruously with the narrative trotted out by some. The research covers residential developments, including student accommodation and retirement homes, as well as commercial and industrial property. JLL declared, Scotland bucked the trends seen elsewhere across the UK. It observed the UK as a whole saw a 25% dip in investment in the first 6 months of the year when compared to the 10-year average. Callum Cow, Capital Markets Director at JLL, highlighted the fact that Scotland's real estate sector had managed to attract increased investment in spite of a challenging opening to 2024. And he said, while it's not been the easiest start to the year from either a political or economic perspective, Scotland continues to show its attractiveness to investors. With the recent interest rate cut and growing optimism in the health of the wider economy, we expect to see healthy levels of deal activity in the Scottish market. Mr. Cow flagged signs of recovery in the office market in Scotland's two major cities. Edinburgh is, of course, seeing some major office developments at Haymarket, for example. Sometimes buoyancy of development in Glasgow is not so immediately obvious, but it is good to hear confirmation that there has been a number of key deals in the city in the first half of 2024. There has been much understandable worry over the impact on Glasgow on the move to hybrid and home working, and the effect of this on footfall, and natural concern over the state of the public realm, making JLL's observation all the more welcome. Edinburgh has a clear advantage over Glasgow in terms of footfall from international tourists. This is particularly clear at the moment with the festival and fringe in full swing, but it is obvious enough at just about any time of year. Mr. Cow said, investment in the office sector in particular is beginning to show signs of recovery, with a number of key deals taking place in both Glasgow and Edinburgh in the first 6 months of the year. There was also good news in terms of the depth of the buyer pool for property in Scotland, with JLL flagging greater appetite from UK institutions and private investors. Again, this might be a surprise to those who have listened only to the noisy voices in recent times. Mr. Cow said, we are also encouraged by the increasing depth of the buyer pool in Scotland. International investors have historically accounted for the lion's share of volumes over the last few years in the market. However, we have also seen increasing appetite from UK institutions and private investors in the past 12 months. We are therefore optimistic that this improved deal flow will continue for the remainder of the year and into 2025. It was difficult to see what was not to like in the JLL report. That said, we should not expect the findings of the research to lead to any diminution of the clamour from those declaring that the Scottish Government has made the nation a terrible place to invest, says Ian McConnell, Group Business Editor.
From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 20th of August, from the news section, Disability campaigners concerned over design. Report by Neil McGrory. Disability campaigners have expressed concern over the design of a major development in Kirkintilloch town centre, claiming not enough has been done to allow visually impaired people to visit safely. Sandy Taylor of the National Federation of the Blind says not enough has been done to consult with disabled people, leading to potential problems which could otherwise have been avoided. Sandy says he heard nothing about the project, a joint venture between Kirkcaldy and Eastern Bartonshire Council, until a chance comment alerted him to a consultation on Facebook. He added, "I, together with many other blind and disabled people, cannot access or do not wish to access social media platforms, so we were excluded." Sandy contacted Benton Scott Simmons, a firm involved in the project, and was able to arrange conference calls. However, with the concept stage of the project already concluded, he feels his group's influence was limited. Campaigners were able to attend 2 brief meetings on site, where Sandy explained the requirements of visually impaired people who use canes to get around, and that the lack of a building line on 3 sides of Regent Gardens meant that tactile surfaces would be necessary. Sandy also pointed out that the guidance tactile for paving in the form of 5 corduroy strips was already in use at the Regent Centre near Tesco. This is easily followed by cane users, and at only millimetres in height does not represent a trip hazard or an obstacle for wheelchair users. In June, Sandy brought a sample of an adhesive form of this tactile paving to a meeting with council officers, saying this could easily be installed to correct the problems, but received a disappointing response. The council officers showed absolutely no interest in my submission, and I was advised, uncompromisingly, that the development was complete and that no further changes would be made, added Sandy. Escorted by a sighted friend, Sandy then attempted to visit Regent Gardens, but had a close encounter with people sitting on a bench, who all stood up to avoid being struck with his cane. Clearly no consideration has been afforded to blind and visually impaired people or to the safety of the public, he continued. It is impossible for blind, deaf-blind, visually impaired and many other disabled people to independently access Regent Gardens, Union Street, the Town Hall, Regent Gardens Health Centre, Peel Park, the Post Office or other shops and amenities, as we wish to support all the businesses in our local town. Sandy added that with around 3,500 visually impaired people living in Eastern Bartonshire, according to surveys from the Royal National Institute for the Blind, businesses in the area are missing out on a significant amount of custom, and that this design also excludes people and breaches laws and human rights. Sandy is calling on the public to support his campaign and contact their elected representatives to share their concerns. However, Eastern Bartonshire Council says the needs of people with disabilities have already been accounted for in the redesign of Regent Gardens. Chief Executive Anne Davey said, ahead of the redevelopment of Regent Gardens, the Council consulted with a range of groups, including the Eastern Bartonshire Access Panel. This was to ensure that the requirements for as broad a range of disabilities/people with protected characteristics as possible were represented in the designs. What we have achieved is a significant improvement in Kirkcaldy Town Centre, which features tactile paving and other features to aid movement. It is of benefit to the whole community, including those with disabilities, and is proving popular. And that article was written by Neil McGrory. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 20th of August, from the news section, Glaswegians invited to join Viking archaeological dig in the city. Report by Josh Carmichael. Residents in Glasgow are being invited to take part in an archaeological dig to discover some of Scotland's connections with Vikings. Locals in Govan are being encouraged to join experts from the University of Glasgow to survey and excavate in the Govan Old Churchyard this month and next. The corner of the churchyard set to be the dig site is where the entrance of the medieval church was once located, and is also where a new fragment of an early medieval sculpture was discovered in 2023. The corner being investigated this year was also the potential find spot of the 1,000-year-old Govan sarcophagus, which was discovered during grave digging in 1855. It's thought that the exterior depicts Constantine, king of the Picts, who was killed by Vikings in the 870 AD. This year marks another dig, which invites communities to join the excavation and is run by the university in partnership with the Society of Antiquaries of Scotland and the Govan Heritage Trust, which assumed ownership of Govan in 2016. Last year's community project led to the discovery of the Govan Warrior Stone, and experts are hoping more artefacts will be discovered this year that will help them to understand the country's Viking past. Stephen Driscoll, Professor of Historical Archaeology at the University of Glasgow and Trustee of Govan Heritage Trust, said, "This year, our team will continue to explore Govan's old deep history by mapping the graveyard in detail and excavating at the find spot of the Warrior Stone, where we also believe the sarcophagus was found back in 1855. There is a real sense of excitement about the coming season, not just because we hope to attract members of the local community to join the dig and participate in the reinvention of the ancient heart of Govan. This year's dig will consist of 2 3-day sessions that will allow volunteers to explore the site alongside professionals from Clyde Archaeology and senior academic staff and students from University of Glasgow Archaeology. The first community dig will take place from August the 29th to 31st, and the second will take place from September the 20th to the 22nd. The discovery of the Govan Warrior last year was described as a remarkable uncovering. The early medieval carved stone was said to be quite unlike any others discovered at the ancient site, portraying a man side-on carrying a round shield and a shaft over their shoulder. While much of the warrior's face was damaged since it had been carved over 1,000 years ago, remarkable details suggest a flowing ponytail and a sharply pointed beard. More than 500 people attended last year's community dig, and now organisers hope the discovery of the Govan Warrior will encourage more people to get involved this year. Dr. Simon Gilmore, Director of the Society of Antiquaries of Scotland, said, "The discovery of the Govan Warrior has stimulated renewed interest in Govan's local heritage, and the grant from the Society of Antiquaries of Scotland will ensure that during 2024 the community is able to actively participate in the archaeological fieldwork. We look forward to working with more community-based projects in the region over the next 2 years as part of our Clyde Valley Archaeological Research Framework project." The oldest known Christian site in Glasgow, Govan Old, was built in 1888 and stands on a religious site dating back to the 6th century. In 2007, Reverend Tom Davison Kelly, a former minister of the church, described it as possibly the most significant church in Glasgow, including the cathedral. The Society of Antiquaries of Scotland supports high-quality research and publications relating to Scotland's past by making several grants and awards twice each year. This round awarded a total of £16,323 to 10 projects researching an aspect of Scottish history or archaeology, including determining a precise date and geographic origin for 14 boat burials identified across Scotland and the Isle of Man, post-excavation analysis of a possible Neolithic butchery site in South Uist, investigating the antiquarian travels of Robert Wilson and the artefacts he brought back to Scotland, and more. Vice President of the Society of Antiquaries of Scotland and convener of the Grants and Awards Committee, Dr. Suzanne Lyle, said, "In the year ahead we are awarding funding to projects undertaken by researchers across a range of fields relating to Scottish history. This exciting research is supported by Fellows of the Society of Antiquaries of Scotland, and we very much look forward to seeing the outcomes which will help us all to learn more about Scotland's past. To get involved in this year's dig, which has been dubbed the Dig Where You Stand, organisers are asking would-be volunteers to visit the Govan Stones Facebook page before August 23rd to find instructions on how to apply for a free place. Visitors to the excavation are welcome to drop by during the entire period of the dig, from August the 29th to September the 22nd. An article was written by Josh Carmichael and read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 20th of August, from the news section, "Man's nose broken in row at boxing match." This article is an exclusive by Esder Tarnay. An Oddies member at a Glasgow boxing event broke a man's nose after a disagreement. Crowds gathered at SWG3 in the West End for Glasgow Fight Night on March the 27th last year. At 8:30pm, an attendee, Declan Fowler, asked the person in front of him if he could let his friend go in front of him so he could see better. Then he asked another man the same thing and they both agreed. A short time later, Neil Sutherland, who was also in the audience, started talking to Mr. Fowler, who turned around and asked what the problem was. Sutherland then grabbed and headbutted Mr. Fowler. As a result of the blow, blood started flowing from his nose. His friends ushered Sutherland out of the building as Mr. Fowler was taken to the medics room to be seen by a doctor. It was confirmed that his nose was broken. Police were called and the 23-year-old was arrested, cautioned and charged. He appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court last week after he pleaded guilty to assaulting Mr. Fowler by striking him in the head with his head. At the hearing, Sutherland's lawyer said his client maintained that he acted in self-defence. He added, "There is confusion in terms of who annoyed who prior to the assault, but his account is the same as the report. He does accept that his behaviour was inappropriate. He is regretful and apologetic. He works with a property company." Sheriff Alan Mackay told Sutherland, "Unfortunately, boxing events have a reputation and you get caught up in it. I am not prepared to accept that it was self-defence, but I do accept that you have been provoked." Sutherland, of Thornley Bank, East Renfrewshire, was ordered to pay £500 compensation to Mr. Fowler. And that article was an exclusive by Esder Tarnai.
This is from the Glasgow Times on the 21st of August 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, "Dad threw 900k of cocaine out car window during Glasgow police chase." This article is by Connor Gordon. A personal trainer caught with £900,000 drugs haul after a high-speed police chase was jailed today for 5 years and 4 months. William Patterson, 35, threw the box of cocaine from a car window during the pursuit around North Glasgow on March 1st, 2023. Officers had earlier kept tabs on courier Patterson through Operation Windstriker, which focused on an organised crime group based in the west of Scotland. Patterson pleaded guilty at the High Court in Glasgow to being concerned in the supply of cocaine aggravated by a connection with serious organised crime. Judge Lady Hood said, "You said you had financial worries which were exacerbated by your mental health and depression. You said you agreed for money to carry out this task for an acquaintance, realising it involved illegal substances. Having suffered yourself and helped others, you are aware of the devastating impact substances have. You said yourself that you feel like a fraud, and you did not use the support of your family, but became embroiled in organised crime. Trafficking Class A drugs with a substantial quantity is a serious offence, and I have to protect the public by deterring others from becoming involved in this activity." It was revealed that his only previous convictions concerned road traffic matters. The court was earlier told that Patterson was spotted receiving a box from a man in the city's Springboig. Patterson was noted to put the box in the vehicle and drove off. Officers stopped beside Patterson at a set of traffic lights on Cumbernauld Road. Prosecutor Alan Parfrey said Patterson became aware of the officers and drove off. He did a U-turn, entered the central reservation on the wrong side of the road and drove off at speed towards Glasgow. Patterson went on to strike a police vehicle and drove through a red light. Officers saw Patterson throw a black phone out of the driver's window during the pursuit. Patterson later did another U-turn in the city's Royston while he drove back towards the pursuing officers. Patterson's Mercedes struck the police vehicle, which caused his airbags to inflate as well as damage to both cars. He was apprehended and taken to hospital and released without treatment. However, 2 of the officers involved suffered from suspected whiplash. The police vehicle was later written off. Patterson's car was searched, and 2 envelopes containing £1,000 and £5,370 were recovered. The black box Patterson was earlier spotted taking possession of was not found. Officers retraced the route of the pursuit and recovered it from the Hugginfield loch. Mr. Parfrey said, "There were 90 blocks of cocaine in the box. Subdivided into 1 gram street deals, there is potential realisation of between £719,000 and £898,800. It was also stated that the purity of the blocks ranged between 81% and 83%. Patterson's home in Christon, Lanarkshire, was searched, and a MacBook as well as an iPhone were recovered. Both items were later destroyed by police. Bob Mitchell, defending, told the sentencing that the dad of two became involved, having suffered financial difficulties. The lawyer said he was offered money to act in the way that he did on this day. He was to be a courier for 1 day, which was the date of the offence. It's a decision he bitterly regrets. This article was by Connor Gordon. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 21st of August 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Ex-cop subjected partners to violent and sexual abuse. This article is by Ben Waddle. An ex-cop who subjected 3 former partners to an appalling campaign of controlling, violent and sexual abuse has been caged. Christopher Ferguson was found guilty of 9 charges, including 2 counts of voyeurism, on June 13th following a trial at Hamilton Sheriff Court. The 31-year-old targeted his victims over a 14-year period in the Lancashire area, including while at Glasgow's Helen Street Police Station. According to the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service, COPFS, the Wishaw man subjected one woman to repeated assaults, as well as telling her what she could wear, reading her text messages and taking away her mobile phone. On top of that, Ferguson was found guilty of stalking the same woman through repeated calls and texts, delivering unwanted gifts, monitoring her social media, and waiting outside a relative's property for her. The COPFS say the ex-cop also behaved in an abusive manner by disclosing intimate pictures of a second woman, repeatedly shouting and swearing, as well as making threats to harm himself. The Lanarkshire man subjected the woman to repeated violent assaults, including choking her to her injury on various occasions. Meanwhile, a third woman was also repeatedly attacked by the criminal, who caused her to fall down a flight of stairs to her injury. The habitual domestic abuser stalked the same woman by monitoring her movements, turning up at her home and contacting her about an ongoing police investigation against him. Now, the former Police Scotland officer has been sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in prison. Ferguson was sentenced at Hamilton Sheriff Court today, Wednesday, August 21st. His name has also been added to the sex offenders register for 10 years. Additionally, non-harassment orders, which will prevent Ferguson from contacting or attempting to contact his victims, were also granted for a 10-year period. Les Brown, Procurator Fiscal for South Strathclyde, said, Christopher Ferguson is a habitual domestic abuser who inflicted unimaginable trauma on his victims. It took courage for them to speak out against a figure of some authority, and I would commend their determination to seek justice. The Crown is committed to the effective and fair prosecution of domestic and sexual crime, no matter who the offender is. I would urge anyone who has been the victim of similar offences to come forward. You will be listened to and supported as we use all the tools available to us to seek justice. Following the sentencing, Police Scotland's Assistant Chief Constable, Stuart Houston, has said his thoughts are with those who survived the appalling abuse by Ferguson. He said, My thoughts remain with those who survived the appalling abuse by Christopher Ferguson, and I commend their strength in reporting these crimes and bringing him to justice. We understand how difficult it can be to report these kinds of offences, particularly when the perpetrator is a police officer, but I want the public to be reassured that all reports are thoroughly investigated, no matter when the offending took place or who is involved. It is right that policing is held to high standards at all times, and we will always support officers and staff acting with our values and standards at heart. The onus is on the policing to build and maintain public confidence and consent, which is critical in our ability to keep our communities and citizens safe. Criminality or misconduct by officers or staff damages public confidence, and there is no place in policing for those who do not uphold our values. This article was by Ben Waddle. This is from the Glasgow Times on the 21st of August 2024 from the news section, and the headline reads, Winter Fuel Payment, DWP tells pensioners to make urgent check. This article is by Matthew Evans. Almost 1 million low-income pensioners eligible have been urged to make an urgent winter fuel payment check. Labour's decision to scrap the universal winter fuel payments, worth up to £300, has proven extremely controversial, with commentators such as Martin Lewis calling it a potential disaster. Those living in rural communities are also thought to be affected the worst, given the conditions in the countryside. Chancellor Rachel Reeves said last month the payments would instead only be awarded to those eligible for pension credit and other means-tested benefits. She said she had to make the difficult decision after being left with a £22 billion black hole in the public finances left by the Conservatives. However, hundreds of thousands of pensions could wrongly miss out on the winter fuel payments because they are not claiming pension credit. According to the Department for Work and Pensions, or DWP, around 1.4 million older people are already in receipt of pension credits. The support is worth almost £4,000 per year and helps struggling pensioners with housing costs, council tax and heating. But a staggering 880,000 households eligible for the payments are yet to claim. Seeking to minimise the impact of the cut to winter fuel payments, ministers are today launching the Pension Credit Awareness Drive to identify the households before the deadline to apply on December 21st. The DWP plans to tackle myths that may stop people from applying, such as how savings, a pension and owning a home are not necessarily barriers to support. Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall said, The £22 billion black hole in the public finances we have inherited has required us to take difficult decisions, but I am determined to ensure low-income pensioners are supported. That's why I urge any pensioner or their loved ones to check if they could get pension credit. This government remains completely committed to pensioners, which is why we're protecting the income of over 12 million pensioners through the triple lock. Chancellor Rachel Reeves added, The dire state of the public finances we inherited from the previous government means we've had to make some very difficult decisions. This article is by Matthew Evans.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at View and Review and to tell your friends about our service.